Now I would like to invite our panel speakers. First, I would like to invite the panel members, Mr. Ganpati Sharma, who is Head of IT at 𝗕𝗏𝗏 India Limited. Please welcome the panel speakers with a huge round of applause. Mr. 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗶𝗶𝗃, VP Business Development at SunSource Energy. Mr. Rajesh Dangi, Chief Digital Officer at NextGen Infinite Data Centers. Mr. Vijay Gurumurthy, Director of IT at 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗶𝗃. And this panel would be moderated by Mr. 𝗕𝗲𝗂𝗂𝗃, Global Delivery, Senior Director in India Operations, Head Infrastructure, Cloud and Security at NTT Data Services.
So once again, welcome to this panel discussion, and I would like to welcome again, once again, Ganpati, Abhishek, Rajesh, and Vijay. So thank you for taking out time, and I'm feeling so privileged to be among you as a moderator, and I am sure this going to be a very, very interactive session, and there will be a lot of learnings coming from your rich experience in the industry. And as I can see, there is a variation, of varieties of industries there, so I'm sure you all are also going to get a lot of insight of some of the aspects of data center infrastructure management, return of investment, capex, and all. So thank you so much once again. And having a superior data center infrastructure management is a catalyst for innovation and integration for the business operations. We are living in the world of disruptive technology, as you know. We are hearing a lot of distinguished panelists talking about things are today, something is going to be different tomorrow, and which means there is a need for a better strategy in place, planning in place, keeping in mind how it should look like in the near future. Also, should not be every year you're going to invest again and again just because there is a technology which keeps changing very often, right? So let me first of all turn over to Ganpati, and my question to you, Ganpati, is how have you been managing and procuring the maintaining your assets effectively? I know you were talking about your asset management strategy, and so if you can share some best practices and how to manage better.
Yeah, thank Pradeep. So, as I said during my session about the asset management, what kind of the challenges we are doing and the best practices. But here I would like to share a few of my experience and which currently we are using in our organization and which helps us to maintaining our assets at the time of procurement, which things we are taking care and that can help others to make them having a good decision, better decision at the time of any kind of the procurement of the assets. Okay. So, first of all, the asset management, as I said, it is not just a project where we have given any kind of the vendors the assignment, or in case we have our internal team, the assignment for just an implementation of the assets or the servers, or it could be any kind of software. Okay. So the regular, so there should be a process defined into the organization, like we have, where we have defined for each system within the team that how, at which period we will have the monitoring of that system, any kind of the health checkups of the system, and any kind of the upgradation or the modification is required of that system. The renewal of the licenses based on the team size and the organization's requirement. So these monitoring is always required. Okay, in last session, one was shared that yes, most of the organizations, in case they don't have the knowledgeable persons into the team, it is very easy to implement by taking the decision by the management that okay, we are implementing uh, some good technology coming into the market, and no matter it is related with the virtualization, data security, backup, but the management is decided to enable the systems with the new technology, but if there is a regular monitoring of that is not happening, then there is no meaning of the implementation and the investment on that.
That is right. Yeah. So as you rightly said, there is a no one. It's not a one project, but it's a continuous process. At the same time, there are a lot of strategical decisions you have to take to decide. Abhishek, continuing that, what is the best practices you follow in your organization when it comes to the asset management part of it, and especially in the context of data center infrastructure management?
Yeah, I think this is asset management part is a very, very critical and important part. And we as a SunSource Energy, we are the developer of the solar power plants, and we have across India currently, running around 400 megawatt worth of projects, supplying powers to various CNI customers and all. As what Pradeep has just asked on the criticality of the asset management, it's like we have our assets deployed in the fields across pan-India, like in 26 states, including 2 plants here in Karnataka. So how do we manage it? It is like, it has to be managed in a both way, like off-site and on-site.
Right.
Off-site, it is like we have certain teams with the, having the experience on the troubleshooting of the plant in case anything occurs. Now that troubleshooting, how to get to know, like it is, the whole system is getting connected through SCADA and all, which is being monitored at our head office in Noida. So across India, like we have around 250 power plants are running across India, and in the single screen we can see like, okay, this power plant has at particular string, this is not giving particular desired results. So we figure it out, whether it is due to the weather condition, whether it is due to the dust, or any sort of any technical knowledge or technical problem is there, which is not being handled by remotely. Then we instruct the team to the offsite, like, boss, this is the particular number of the string is having this kind of a problem. Right. So now we come to the data center requirements. Like data center, as what we know is it's a kind of a industry. It's a 24/7, like, and they require energy 24/7. So, but as far as we as a SunSource, we are currently running supplying powers through solars, and solar, as you know, like it works in during the sun hour time. So we are working towards making our sustainable energy solutions on the RTC basis, means round the clock basis. So in that direction also we are working by adding certain battery systems or storage systems, plus getting it hybrid with the wind also. So yeah, your question of the Pradeep, like the asset management, we are doing offsite and
Right.
onsite basis.
You touched upon the solar power, right? And sustainability also. I think that's very close to my heart, and I was talking about in the previous session.
Yes.
So a great way of, one of the things which probably can help us or can help the organization to.
Yeah, if you just permit me 2
Sure.
minutes. What, as per our experience, India is, as far as data centers are concerned, it's an emerging market, and I think previous session, Pradeep and other intelligent people also mentioned, like, because why India is requiring data centers, it is because of the, data appetite from each and everybody. Everybody is now holding the mobile in his hand and, extracting data. So now these data, it has to be, stored somewhere. And it's not only storing, but it has to be, well secured also. So that is why, and then a lot of, social media platforms like OTTs are running, Netflix, Flipkart. I mean, so many people are running on on the data center based solutions. So now under the data center, I would say the operations, the heart of the data center is getting it established or have a sustainable data center by having the most sustainable cooling plant, right? So now the cooling plant is taking most of the energy. So that cooling plant, there are a lot of research is already going on, means people are running on the conventional, which is on R2 gases, but now that technology is also getting shifted, is getting improved. There are hybrid of liquid plus gases are also being introduced to make the cooling system more efficient, right? So it requires less energy, but and the more cooling effect. So that is one mechanical part of the data center where they are already working on it. Plus the energy consumption, what they do, like thereby we as a solar people or RE guys come into play. So now, as far as Karnataka is concerned, Karnataka is having a good policy, I would say. They have just introduced, I think last year they have introduced a data-centric policy, which has given certain benefits on the land side, some sort of relaxation on the once you buy the land, and they have a target of 2025 to have around 170 megawatt worth of data centers across Karnataka. Plus, I can read it out. I just made the note of what kind of a, if somebody is from the out of Karnataka, I can just read it out, like so that it can be of some of your interest. So it is some okay. Now it has given a capital subsidy, one-time capital subsidy of 7% up to 10 CR, distributed disbursed within 5 years with annual ceiling of 2 crore per annum. And then land subsidy of 10% in Karnataka they have introduced. That shall be provided on purchase or lease of the land. And then there is a 100% exemption on the duty part. Once you buy any land or purchase or lease out any land, there is a 100% exemption on that. Then there is a land conversion fee, that we call it NA, that is also exempted for the data center people who really want to set up that data center out here in Karnataka. And then power tariff concession is there, the eligibility of industrial tariff instead of commercial tariff. So if you buy power straight away from the DISCOM, it will not be applicable under commercial, but it will be applicable under industrial, which is lesser than commercial, around 80 to 90 paisa lesser than per unit, lesser than commercial things. Then green power tariff reimbursement, that is also being introduced in Karnataka. That is 50 paisa per unit surcharge will be reimbursed if opting 50% more green power for a span of 5 years. Like out of more than 50% of the power you are consuming through the RE power sources, whether it is a solar, wind or hydro, then you will get a 50 paisa concession from the government end, okay? And then electricity duty, that is also 100% exempted for the 5 years, for the next 5 years, which government is, which is expected, like it may be, extended, but based on the kind of a performance what Karnataka is going to give.
Right. So with that, actually, this is a very good insight, Abhishek, and we talked about asset management, some of aspects of the solar energy and the sustainable energy part of it. moving to the next component to it, my question to Rajesh, to you, in terms of how important it is to have the right software and technology to manage the data center infrastructure.
Very tough.
Uh,
Very tough to answer in a nutshell.
Is it? Can you just use this one if not working? Please.
Not everything works when you want. So I want to categorize that into 2 or 3 areas, right? In terms of
Can you just?
the principle
yeah.
is that whatever is not monitored cannot be managed.
Right.
And if you don't manage, how would you get efficiencies? So data center has 3 key elements, right? One is your cooling, second is the power, and third is equipment.
Right.
So when we look at things, again there are 2 dimensions. Day one, when you design. So if you design something for redundancy, is it design something for efficiency, the objective of your design should be so much that you get maximum efficiency. And that's how we have moved to cloud from the traditional bare metal servers. When it comes to equipments, on a day 2 part, day 2 is nothing but operations, right? When you operate certain things, it is your responsibility to put a DCIM software, non-IT softwares like BMS and other. There are plethora of softwares. All of that has to be used to give a visibility to the guys who are managing your data center. The person without having any kind of insight into what is happening around facilities, cooling, power or equipment will be kind of throwing stones in the air. This is
Right.
what my thought is, and we strongly believe that training, reinforced training and regular practice of new employees, new technologies have to be constantly done in terms of doing that. Having said that, softwares it's a huge ocean. There are so many best practices, and when we use state-of-the-art technologies, few of the OEMs, they themselves equip us with very good softwares. Now what happens is that either you integrate all of these things together. So we use OpenDCIM, which is open source software, which is written in a LAMP where you have PHP scripts and all that, and a few of our programmers are equipped to get or the fetch data from the other OEM thing, and then that's how we collectively do it. I think Anil showed it to us, and it is almost standard to most of the data centers. So you don't have to do any over engineering or under engineering out that. It comes like part of this thing. Now innovation comes. So my belief is that a product will be standardized, but how you deploy it, how do you use it, how do you bring your best practices matters the most, right? Everybody has a car, but the person who drives it for the efficiency is a different guy. Person who drives it to reach somewhere faster could be a rash driver. Is an objective on its own.
Right. Yeah. So taking that discussion, next table, Vijay, what is your view on the same question?
Check. Thanks. I think many of the points my colleague covered. I want to first thank all the people who are still here. Want you say break? It's people vanished, but anyway, thank you. I represent 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗵𝐺EMINI and I'm part of the enterprise IT team. Data centers are key for any business, whether it is a small-time business or a large enterprises like us or a e-commerce kind of business. It's core. Now, there are 2 ways to do. One, probably a legacy way where every vendor, storage vendor, server vendor, the switch vendors, power cooling, everyone used to give their own management software. So you have a big screen with multiple touch points which you used to see, and all of them are in silos, right? And when something happens, you don't know what caused that problem. Whether cooling created the heat in the server which had the component failure, or the UPS, probably there was a spike which caused the problem. Right? Because all are silos, you don't have that integrated view of your data center. That was the legacy way of working. Probably many years it happened, and maybe still there are companies who are doing it. But can you continue that same way in your future? I don't think that is going to help in any way, because the technology has changed so much that every touch point from the power source, from your dual power source, and most of them are already IoT enabled, right? So you get whether your power is clean, right? Your UPS is giving the right power to your UPS systems on your server. You have right cooling, and sometimes you see that the cooling in one place is higher some places is lower. So you get the sensors spread across data centers, so you get the cooling. Then per rack, you know what is the power consumption. Whether you are using the right equipments and it is you consuming the right power which is allocated to that power rack, you get the visibility. You get the switch, how is this functioning, right? You get the ports which are connected to your servers, your backend systems, right? So every touch point within the data center, there are technologies which are open, like my colleague said, which can be integrated so that you have a single view of what your data center is doing. So I definitely know whether if there is a change in the environment or a change in the AC, I know what can affect the subsequent components, right? So technology tools plays a very big role in managing your data center. And as I said, data center is core of business. It is mandatory that companies invest in tools which can give you a complete visibility of data center.
Right. And just continuing with you, Vijay. So when you are saying the best strategies as per your experience to cut down the OpEx and CapEx, how do you do that for your organization?
Well, I would say it depends, because it depends on the business what you do, right? If you are a completely e-commerce based company or an insurance sector company where customer acquisition is very critical for you, right? Their OpEx plays a big role, right? There's no point building a data center, because the kind of dynamic changes which happens in e-commerce, like big billion day sale, you can't have that kind of environment in a on-prem solution, right? Where you have to have a very high capex built with data centers, and it's unpredictable. So the best way is to go the OpEx way, right? And the same, will it be applicable to medium and large scale enterprises? Probably not. It is always a combination of OpEx where the endpoint or the employee engagement services goes completely on cloud, and you have a mix of core business apps sitting on-prem, right, on your data center. So it's always a mix of OpEx and CapEx. Right. Where you have to invest on CapEx depends on the regulatory needs, where they say that you need to have a control on data. You need to know where the data is. You need to be compliant with multiple regulations, right? In that, CapEx makes a bigger role, right? You build data centers, right? Probably many of the companies have a large data center, including Capgemini, right? There you invest in CapEx. Right. CapEx comes with its own advantage, disadvantage. The moment you build a data center, all the equipments, monitoring, people, resources, everything is required for you to run the business. And parallelly, you need to build a BCP-DR for the data center. So the CapEx, it never ends, right? Business grows, and you have to keep building data centers.
If I just ask the same question, Ganpati, in your view, how do you see that, in your organization? Is what? Just check.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. It was very well explained by
Vijay.
But I'm also agree on it that it totally depends on the situation by situation and based on the organization's requirement. So decision over we should go with the capex or opex, okay, and which kind of the implementation we have to go, which will be beneficial for the business and the organization. So it totally depends on the what software system or the infrastructure we are going to be procured, how it is beneficial for us, and if the scalability and the sizing of that, we can say the upgradation, if it is very critical for the business and upgradation, frequent upgradations are required, we can go with the OpEx model. Okay, where the upgradation, frequent upgradations OEM is taking care, and if it is on the cloud and other things, and if we know that okay, we are well aware about the requirement and what kind of the future enhancement will means requirement for the next 2 or 3 or 5 years, so that accordingly we can go for the capex model.
Right. And I know I got, well, so just quickly coming to you, Abhishek, and Rajesh, if you can add on that. We talked about the greening of data centers, right? Cooling technology or some of the other, best practices in order to, offset the carbon footprints, right? What quickly you like to add on the top of what you already talked about?
Yeah. I think you were having a discussion on the OPEX and CAPEX on at the client side. So what we in our business, like we as a energy provider, we offer both ways. Like, but clients prefer to have the OPEX because we set up the power plant, we invest the whole money, and then based on the unit consumption by the client, we are setting up certain tariffs per unit throughout 25 years of the PPA, and that gives them a big relief to the client, because currently what is happening, like down the line, if you take the data for the last 4 or 5 years, the DISCOM tariffs are really hurting everybody's. But here in solar, like we offer kind of a flat tariff for a longer duration of the period, and that gives a client a benefit to have plan their own operations accordingly and sit back and enjoy the less tariff of the electricity. So that's what we offer. You want to add something?
Probably you need to change.
Sorry. So thought process is it is again capex and opex are business decisions. To be frank, if a bank wants to build assets and show it more on their books, they would try to buy the servers. Whereas, like Vijay said, that we might have e-commerce company who wants to be low in terms of showing the assets, but more services and customers and acquisition. So that's the thought. In my view, OPEX makes far more sense in terms of there is a skin in the game from the provider side, and that's how he keeps his interest in terms of uptime, availability of that service, whatever is provided as OPEX. Instead of you sell something and then you only work on the AMC part and all that. So there is a little enhanced service or the focus. This is my personal belief. There could be some contra opinions on that. Right. Coming back to the green, kind of thought process, I think we will take 1 more hour if it goes to so much of details. But 2-3 quick points. One is by design. You have to design the data center in such a way that it works like a dark factory. If there is nobody, no human inside, you don't need lights. If those lights are required, it should be powered by solar. We are doing some 500,000 kgs per year of carbon saving because of only 50,000 square feet of our rooftop solar, which kind of giving. Then we have signed up with wind energy and all that. So we are committed that we would by 2025 itself, we would try to be a carbon neutral data center. Now for us, in my personal opinion, you can do a lot more. Why to stop only there? You can use more of the electric vehicles. By design, our racks are white colored racks, so that we use far more lesser light in terms internally also whenever it requires. We have raised our flooring to 750 millimeter, where a cold air can be maintained. So in case of any failure or anything, you don't have to again reheat entire, do cooling for entire of that space. Instead, the cold air is retained for certain point of time, and then it is always better to take air which is at say 20 degrees to 18 degrees far more faster than air which is at 25 to 30 degrees to that, and that's how you see efficiency. So green is a DNA. Green cannot be a policy. Green has to be a sustainability from your heart, saying question everything, can it be done better? In terms of efficiency also, we do take refreshes so much faster, because if a compute resource is inefficient, it will draw more power. Absolutely. It will burn more, more time, and then time is directly proportional to the power.
That's a very great point, Rajesh. Using the natural resources, air circulation, groundwater circulation, locational advantages while designing a data center or trying to set up a data center is very important part of the strategy. I can just simply quote one of data center for entry data services. They actually created a data center near to Alps, right? And the locational advantage, the groundwater which they are using for the cooling the entire data center, and this is some way offsetting the carbon. And there is another data center which actually use the air circulation, natural resource again to do the cooling. So these are some of really touching topics and the talk of the town. Most of the times people are looking how they can transform further their data center and make it more resilient, sustainable.
One point from me on the green energy. I think worldwide companies have realized that the existing energy is no more going to sustain for a long period of time. So there is a push on alternative energy.
Right.
I read somewhere that there is a data center being built inside the sea, right?
Okay.
And different technologies are being explored so that we sustain the alternative energy and continue our business.
That's correct, and a lot of innovative things are happening, to make this world look better and sustainable, right? Whether it's a data center or any other campuses, corporate we talk about. With that, I'll give a rest to this discussion. Thank you so much, Ganpati, Abhishek, Rajesh, and Vijay for joining me for this. I'm sure you all have got some insight to some of the important aspects of data center management, and also touching the topic of the sustainability. Right. With that, thank you so much once again.
Thank you.